Okay, buckle up because today we're diving deep into the world of relationships. Specifically, what men learn about women after they actually start dating them. And where better to get this raw, unfiltered wisdom than, a popular Ask Reddit thread.
It's amazing the amount of responses we see in these threads. It gives us, a real cross-section of experiences. And while individual stories may vary, there are some recurring themes that really jump out.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole deep dive so interesting, right? We're not just looking for laughs, although there will be plenty of those, but also trying to uncover some, maybe universal truths about relationships that we might not even realize we're assuming.
It really is like holding up a mirror to those unspoken expectations we bring into dating. And yes, sometimes what we see reflected back can be pretty surprising.
All right, let's unpack this thing. One of the most frequent and honestly hilarious revelations was all about shower temperature. Apparently, women like their showers hot, like really, really hot.
One guy even described his ex's skin as feeling on fire after she got out of the shower. It seems like a lot of men are just completely bewildered by this preference.
That's so funny. So, is there like a scientific reason behind this? Do women have some sort of heat-resistant superpower?
Well, superpowers might be a bit of a stretch, but there could be a few factors at play here. Some women mentioned targeting specific areas with like the hottest water, like their back, suggesting maybe they're trying to relax their muscles or relieve pain. And, there's also been research that shows that heat can stimulate the release of endorphins, those feel-good chemicals in our brains.
Oh, that makes sense. So it's like a mini spa treatment, right?
Mhm.
Relieving tension, boosting your mood. But it's still pretty funny to imagine the look on these guys' faces when they first encounter this like fiery phenomenon.
Oh, yeah. It definitely highlights those assumptions we make, even about something as simple as how hot you like your shower.
Speaking of surprises, let's move on to another recurring theme. Shedding. It seems like men are finding hair everywhere.
Oh, yeah. The comments are just full of these exasperated but humorous anecdotes about hair woven into socks or like clinging to unexpected body parts. It paints quite the picture.
One guy even compared it to a Wookiee explosion
Mm.
in his bathroom. But beyond the laughs, is there a biological reason for this? Do women actually shed more than men?
Well, it might feel that way, but hair shedding is totally natural for everyone. However, several factors could explain, what these men are observing. For one, women often have longer hair, which obviously leads to more visible shedding, and hormonal fluctuations can also influence hair loss, particularly during that time of the month.
So it's not just a myth. It's a combination of
Yeah.
biology and, well, the simple fact that longer hair is just more noticeable when it sheds.
Hmm.
Maybe it's something men just have to kind of get used to.
Yeah, perhaps. But, these comments bring up a good point about societal expectations, too. Women are constantly bombarded with messages about, achieving this smooth, hairless perfection. So while shedding is completely natural, it can still create a sense of self-consciousness, especially in a new relationship.
That's a really interesting point. It's like these everyday experiences are actually revealing some deeper anxieties and pressures that we might not even be aware of. Okay, let's shift gears to a topic that's sure to get a chuckle.
Cheese. It seems like women have this deep, unwavering love for all things cheesy.
The thread was overflowing with men just marveling at their partner's cheese consumption. One woman even admitted to indulging, even though she's lactose intolerant. Talk about dedication.
Wow, that's some serious commitment to cheese. But I have to admit, I kind of get it. Cheese is delicious. Maybe it's like a comfort food thing.
That's a really interesting thought. There's actually a lot of research on those psychological and cultural factors that drive our food preferences. Some studies suggest that women actually tend to crave those creamy, fatty foods more than men do, especially during certain phases of their cycle.
Interesting. So it could be a combination of biology, cultural norms, and of course, personal taste. But it's still funny to see how often cheese pops up in these revelations. It's like a universal truth of dating. Absolutely. And it shows how important it is to understand individual preferences, even when it comes to something as simple as cheese.
All right, let's transition to a topic that's a little less cheesy and a little more complex. Communication.
Yeah.
It seems like men are often baffled by the way women communicate, especially with each other.
One comment that stood out was about the sheer volume of detail that women share with their female friends.
Mm,
It's like they have their own secret language.
yeah. It's like listening in on a top secret meeting. Is there a reason why women tend to communicate so differently than men, especially, within their own gender groups?
Well, there's no easy answer. And there's actually ongoing debate in the research community. But some studies have shown that women's brains are wired for, greater emotional expressiveness and empathy.
So it's not just a stereotype. There's actually a biological basis for these differences in communication styles. But how does this play out in relationships?
Well, it can lead to some misunderstandings if those differences aren't acknowledged and, carefully navigated. For example, women might be seeking emotional connection and validation in conversations, while men might be focusing on problem solving or being direct.
That's so interesting. It's like we're approaching communication with totally different goals in mind. So how can couples bridge this gap?
That's where the real work begins. It's about actively listening, recognizing your partner's communication style, and then expressing your own needs, clearly and respectfully. And sometimes it's about just embracing the humor in those differences.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, relationships are about understanding and appreciating each other, even when we communicate in different ways.
Exactly. And these seemingly trivial observations, from the hot showers to the cheese cravings, they can actually reveal a lot about those unspoken expectations and communication patterns that shape our relationships.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive, but we're just getting started. Stay tuned for more insights and revelations from this Ask Reddit thread as we delve deeper into what men learn about women after they start dating them.
And remember, this is just a glimpse into the vast and diverse world of relationships. The beauty is in those individual journeys and the discoveries we make along the way.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we're still kind of dissecting what men learn about women after they start dating, all thanks to that popular Ask Reddit thread and all those honest answers. Yeah, we've already talked about some pretty fascinating insights about those quirky everyday habits. The scorching hot showers, the mysterious world of women's bathroom counters. But now I want to explore some of the deeper stuff. What do women truly value in relationships?
That's a great question. And a recurring theme in a lot of the comments was actually the importance of emotional intelligence. A lot of men expressed surprise at how deep their partner's feelings were and how much they needed that emotional validation.
Interesting. It seems like maybe there's a disconnect between how men perceive women's emotional needs and what women actually want.
Yeah, exactly. Society often teaches men to kind of suppress their emotions, and that can make it really hard to connect with partners who are more emotionally expressive.
So it's not just about men needing to be, overly emotional themselves, but more about developing that ability to understand and respond to their partner's emotions,
Yeah.
in a way that's meaningful.
Exactly. It's about being empathetic, actively listening, and creating that safe space where their partner feels comfortable expressing their emotions. And this actually ties into another big theme that kept coming up: communication.
Yeah.
Clear and open communication.
Yeah, one comment that really resonated with me was about how much women appreciate men who can articulate their feelings and needs directly. It's about being vulnerable and open instead of, being stoic or avoiding those tough conversations.
Right, that vulnerability is so crucial for building intimacy and trust. It allows partners to connect on a deeper level and work through challenges together.
It sounds like men are starting to realize that being emotionally in tune with their partner isn't a weakness. It's actually a strength in a relationship.
Absolutely. It shows maturity and self-awareness, and honestly, those are qualities that are super attractive in any partner. And speaking of attractive qualities, another theme that kept popping up was respect. Respect in both words and actions.
Yeah, respect is like the foundation of any healthy relationship.
Yeah.
But what specific aspects of respect did people mention in the thread?
Well, they talked a lot about respecting a woman's boundaries, her opinions, her choices. It's about treating her as an equal partner, not someone you need to control or, put down.
So valuing her autonomy and recognizing that she has the right to make her own decisions.
Exactly. And this extends to respecting her time, her space, and her emotional needs. It's about those small everyday gestures that show you really care and that you respect her.
It's not always about the grand gestures or expensive gifts. It's those little acts of kindness and attention that make her feel seen and appreciated.
Right. And we can't forget about physical affection. A lot of men were surprised by how much their partners craved physical touch. And I'm not just talking about sex.
Like cuddling on the couch, holding hands, a simple touch on the arm. Those small acts of physical connection can be so powerful.
They can. They convey love and support and reassurance, sometimes even better than words can. And speaking of love, it was clear that women really value partners who are capable of expressing their love genuinely and consistently.
So the takeaway here is that women want partners who are emotionally intelligent, respectful, good communicators, and affectionate. Those are the qualities that build a strong and fulfilling relationship.
Yeah, exactly. But of course, every single person is different, and it's important to remember these are just general themes. The cool thing about relationships is discovering those specific needs and desires of your partner and learning how to meet them in a way that feels authentic for both of you.
Okay, let's lighten the mood a bit. Let's revisit some of those funny and unexpected revelations from the thread. What other surprising things did men learn about their female partners?
Oh, prepare to be amazed. One recurring theme was the sheer quantity of products that women use in the bathroom. Like, it's a lot.
Ah, the infamous bathroom counter clutter. I've heard stories about lotions and potions and enough beauty products to stock a Sephora. It's like a portal to another dimension of beauty secrets and grooming rituals.
It seems like for a lot of men, the bathroom became this mysterious and fascinating place after they started dating a woman.
I can only imagine that initial shock and confusion. But hey, maybe it's a good lesson about self-care and, embracing those rituals that make us feel good.
I think so. Another funny thing was women's fascination with true crime documentaries. It's like they all have this inner detective trying to piece together clues and figure out motives.
Maybe it's the thrill of the unknown, the desire to kind of understand the darker parts of human nature. Or maybe it's just a way to escape for a while. Whatever the reason, it's clear that true crime has a huge female following.
It definitely does. And then there's nesting. You know, that sudden urge to redecorate and organize and turn your living space into this cozy haven.
Oh, the nesting instinct. It's like a superpower. The ability to transform a typical bachelor pad into a warm and welcoming home.
Maybe it's an instinct to create a safe and comfortable environment, or maybe it's just a love for interior design. Either way, it's something a lot of men notice and appreciate.
And who doesn't love coming home to a cozy and organized space, right? It's a win-win.
Totally. And speaking of win-win situations, another surprising thing was women's ability to multitask. Like, they're superhuman. They can handle so many things at once, like they have this secret control panel in their brains.
It's truly impressive. They can be cooking dinner, answering emails, helping the kids with homework, and planning a vacation all at the same time. Like watching a master conductor lead an orchestra.
And they make it look so easy. It's no wonder men are kind of in awe of this multitasking superpower.
Yeah, maybe men can learn a thing or two from their multitasking partners. It's all about finding that balance and sharing the load in a way that works for both people.
Well said. We've covered so much in this deep dive, from the heartwarming stuff to the hilarious stuff. What are some of the key takeaways you hope our listeners will get from this Ask Reddit exploration?
I think the most important takeaway is that relationships are a journey of discovery. Discovering things about your partner and about yourself. It's about approaching those discoveries with curiosity, empathy, and a willingness to learn and grow together.
That's a great way to put it. And remember, everyone, this is just a small glimpse into the big and diverse world of relationships. Each person is unique, and it's the beauty of those differences that makes love so fascinating and rewarding.
We'll be back in just a bit to wrap up our deep dive with some final thoughts. Stick around. And we're back for the final part of our deep dive, exploring all the things men learn about women after they start dating. You know, from those scorching hot showers to the strange allure of true crime documentaries, we've uncovered some really fascinating and honestly hilarious stuff.
Yeah, it's been a journey for sure. You know, dismantling those assumptions and gaining a deeper appreciation for all the unique ways women experience and express love. And it's amazing to see how honest and vulnerable these men were when sharing their stories in that Ask Reddit thread.
Totally. It's like they're giving us a front row seat to their own evolution as men, right? Shedding light on all those aha moments that changed how they understand women in relationships.
Okay.
Okay, so before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to explore some of the more, profound stuff about love and intimacy that came up.
Yeah, one theme that really stood out to me was this realization that women often express love differently than men. It's not always about those big gestures or expensive gifts. It's about the little things.
Like, remember that doctor's appointment they were worried about, or picking up their favorite takeout after a crazy day.
Exactly. It's those acts of service, those small but really meaningful gestures that show you truly care. It's about paying attention to the details, noticing what matters to your partner, and trying to make their life, a little easier or a little brighter.
And a lot of times it's just about being present, listening to them and offering support when they need it. It's about showing up for your partner in all those everyday moments, big and small.
Right. There were also a bunch of comments about the importance of non-sexual intimacy. Cuddling on the couch, holding hands, giving a back rub. Those seemingly small acts of physical affection can create such a deep sense of connection.
It's about nurturing that emotional bond.
Yeah.
Going beyond just the physical part of a relationship. It's about making your partner feel safe and loved and cherished in a way that goes deeper than just sex.
Exactly. It's about making a space where both of you feel comfortable expressing your needs and desires and even your fears without being judged. That kind of intimacy is so important for a truly fulfilling and lasting relationship.
Now, we can't ignore some of the more challenging parts of relationships that came up in the thread, too.
Yeah.
Communication breakdowns, different expectations, those moments when you feel like you're speaking totally different language. Those are all really common hurdles that every couple faces.
Oh, absolutely. It's natural to have disagreements and conflicts. The key is learning how to work through those challenges in a way that's healthy and respectful. Communication is everything, and that means really listening to your partner's perspective, even when you don't agree. It also means being able to express your own needs and feelings clearly and respectfully.
And sometimes it means knowing when to take a break, cool down, and come back to the issue with a fresh perspective. It's also about being willing to compromise, to find solutions that work for both of you.
Yeah, and remember, relationships take work. They're not always easy, but the rewards of a strong, loving partnership are totally worth it. It's about choosing to be there for each other day after day and navigating those ups and downs together.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of relationships, what are some final words of wisdom you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I'd say embrace the journey. Relationships are constantly evolving. It's a dance of learning, growing, and adapting. Approach those relationships with curiosity and an open mind, and be willing to be both a student and a teacher. And don't forget about humor. As we've seen, laughter can be such a powerful tool for connection, understanding, and just navigating all the crazy complexities of love.
I love that. And remember, there's no one right way to have a successful relationship. It's about finding what works for you and your partner and creating a partnership that brings joy, support, and laughter to both of your lives. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the hearts and minds of men in relationships. We hope you've enjoyed this exploration and maybe even learned a thing or two about the women in your lives. And if you're looking for more thought-provoking conversations about relationships, spirituality, and personal growth, be sure to subscribe to Voices of the Soul wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube by searching for Shauna Palage. We'd love to connect with you there and keep the conversation going. Thanks for listening.